It's time for another Cruze video, which means it's time to fix yet another very common Cruze problem with what's in this box. So if you know Cruzes, you know that the PCV system on these things isn't exactly the greatest. You have the PCV valve sitting right under this. It's built into the valve cover, and then you have a check valve inside here because it's boosted. And then a lot of the times this check valve, or the check ball I should say, will actually go missing. And that is the case in this car. And so that's also why I'm having PCV issues. It blew out the valve cover gaskets, running a little bit rough, and then my front main also isn't leaking yet, but usually when you fix all of those, it'll blow out the front main. So I have a new valve cover that'll be done, and then today we're going to tackle the intake, and then a front main will be coming in the future. Now normally when this happens, you need to buy a whole new intake manifold, and Dorman makes a replacement, but I've heard it's hit or miss. It doesn't last very long. The same thing will go wrong within thousands of miles. And you can buy an OEM one, but that's quite a bit of money. And again, the same thing, it's going to fail at some point. So then finally somebody came along and they made a PCV fix kit, which has an external check valve that is actually replaceable if it ever does go wrong. Although it is a more reliable check valve, so it shouldn't go wrong. So this kit can be installed on an intake that already has the check valve gone in it, like mine does. And this is basically what you get. This is your check valve. You have a few different fittings, and then you have a chunk of hose, you have some Teflon tape, some JB weld to cover up the old check valve, seal that up. And then this kit is the Gen 1 kit that they have. So it's actually made to go into this throttle body spacer that I already have. It's got 2 ports in the bottom of it. That's where the crankcase pressure will be vented back into. Whereas if you don't already have this and you don't want to purchase it, you can actually buy their Gen 2 or their Gen 3 kits, and they're about the same price, just a little bit different routing, and you don't need to buy this. So this is the first one that I've done of these, so I'm going to show you how it's done while I'm learning myself. So my understanding is first thing I got to do is pull the intake manifold off, so that's pretty straightforward, so I'm just going to start doing that. So here I have the intake manifold pulled off. It's pretty easy to do. 6 main bolts, 1 on either end, and then you have 2 and 2. Yeah, really quite simple to do. There's quite a bit of wiring and plugs on the top end, but not too bad. And so what you're looking at is right in there. A little tough to see. There's that hole at the very end of this passage. That's where that check ball is supposed to sit. And so with this kit, you actually end up sealing up that hole. So the first thing you want to do is clean this out really well with some degreaser and then blow dry it. Make sure there's no residue at all in there, because like that's what it looked like when I started, oily plastic, and now it's dry, ugly looking, but it's dry, and stuff is going to stick to it. So in the kit, it comes with this self-tapping screw in here, and then there's a washer right there. So what you end up doing, you put this in, make the threads for it, pull it back out, take the JB weld that's in the kit, you mix them up, put it on the end of this screw, and then you screw the screw into the hole in here. That'll seal up the original check valve hole, so now you no longer have a boost leak there. So it's tough to see, but deep down inside that hole, the screw's in there with the JB weld sealing it up. Now they said as long as you do that step first and do the rest of it afterwards, it should have been enough time by the time you get this back on the car to have it cured enough to where it can be started and ran again. So that part's done. So then it says the next part, you have to drill a hole right in here. I believe it's a 9/16 hole. We'll use a step bit. I just did the pilot hole there. Now it says to take this washer that it comes with, you put this on and then kind of center it in this channel. Go down a little bit, and then that's where you want your hole to be. So I'm gonna have to drill that out to 9/16, and then this nut is going, two of these sides are gonna have to be ground down a little bit so it can slide in here, so that we can put this fitting into here and then thread it in, and then the nut will capture it on the back and seal it up. So here we have this part all bolted up. Now we have the nut in there with the rubber washer to seal it and a regular washer. Then we have that big washer on the outside. And then you have the fitting, obviously. Then we have the 90-degree fitting, Teflon on it, and then you want it pointing right at the throttle body. So now with this on, I believe this hose can go on. I don't know if it has to be shortened. I'll have to look. But this will go on, and then I believe we'll have this fitting, and then the check valve will go onto there. Then do this male to male, and then have this 90-degree fitting going into the throttle body spacer over here. So something a little like that. So I'm going to go assemble all this, throw the throttle body spacer on with the new throttle body, and then that should complete this. So that's going to pretty much complete this fix kit. I got the B&R throttle body spacer in there. The check valve is in here pointing this way because you want the air to come from the manifold and then dump it back into the manifold. And then you want the valve to be closed when you're under boost, which will be putting air in this way, and you don't want it to go this way. So that's why it goes that way. And then all these fittings have the thread tape on them. This hose did have to be cut down to size, but that's easy enough to do. So yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this back in the car. So now with the intake manifold back installed, that pretty much wraps up that install. Now, like, you can't even tell that it's there. It's all underneath the manifold. The only thing that you could maybe see is this throttle body spacer in here. I guess you can see the check valve down there, but like from normally looking at it, you can't even tell that it's in there. So that just about wraps up everything like mechanically in the engine bay that I'm gonna do. Like I said, valve cover, water pump gonna be done at the dealership. Probably gonna get that done this week, hopefully. I think, going to change the cam actuator seals. Super common on these, pretty cheap part to replace. They are seeping a little bit, so I probably will go and do that, but that's really minor. And then the only other thing is the front main, like I said. Normally when you fix your valve cover, the PCV and the valve cover, and then you fix your intake, it'll end up wrecking the front main for some apparent reason. Just excessive PCV pressure just blows it out, whatever. It's a $3 seal on Rock Auto. I bought it. I'll change it really quickly. Just a good thing to keep in mind when you're doing PCV related stuff on these cars. Just do with the intake, the valve cover, and the front main all at the same time. Then you're not trying to chase problems and do things over twice. So that'll get done in a later video. So now all that's really left that I need to get done for it to pass inspection mechanically, I have the struts. Those are on order. They'll be here later this week. And then brakes I'm gonna be doing. I have pads, but I need to get rotors. So that'll probably be another video, struts and brakes. And then other than that, like, it's the body. Right now I have a new front bumper. The one fender I gotta fix, the other fender I have to pick up. And then I'm still trying to find a hood. I really don't want to buy a new one because they're kind of expensive, but I think I'm probably gonna have to. So that's just about all I can do. Now there is a couple small things in the car that I'm actually gonna tackle right now because they're kind of bothering me. There's a park light that's out in the back passenger right corner. I'm gonna change that. And the right front speaker sounds absolutely terrible. So I have another Pioneer speaker that I will be putting in there, and hopefully that fixes the issue. So we're gonna jump into that, and then that's probably about all I have for today. Just like that. Got a working park light now. And then nothing really to see here, but I put a new speaker in down there. Fun fact, rear speakers and front speakers in the Cruzes are actually the same. I had a rear speaker, a Pioneer speaker, out of my parts car that I didn't even realize it was a rear when I pulled it out. It said R on it and this one said F on it, so I'm gonna assume that's for rear and front. And plugged in, mounted in, works just fine, so there you have it. So yeah, if you need any sort of PCV fix kit or anything like that, that kit I bought was off of cruzekits.com, where they strictly specialize in PCV fix kits for these 1.4 liters. So, and again, if you wanted a kit that doesn't require you to buy that throttle body spacer, they have a kit for you. So very easy install, simple tools needed. The only thing that you really need that's a little bit specialty to pull the intake off is a fuel line disconnect tool, but even that's not that hard to get. So like I said, next video probably gonna be struts and brakes, and then from there the car's probably gonna go off the paint because there's not really a whole lot more that needs to get done. So with that being said, be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to comment, and we'll see you guys in the next one.